I really only get paid to do 4 things. And it's an acronym, PLAN, prospect, lead, follow-up, go on appointments, negotiate deals. That's what you get paid to do. Like you get
Mm-hmm.
paid as a salesperson to be in the presence of prospects. So I need to have that mind frame and mindset. You haven't missed a day in prospecting in like 12 years.
Hi, I'm Noel with Today's Brew, where top producing real estate agents share their tips and tricks on taking more listings, making more money, and having fun doing it. On today's episode, we welcome Aaron Novello with Elite Real Estate Coaching. Aaron, how are you?
I'm doing awesome. Really excited to be with you here today.
We are really happy to have you. I want to talk a little about you first. I've done a little bit of research on you, and you've had a pretty impressive real estate career, and definitely are qualified to be giving lots of advice today. Something like 2,000 transactions.
Yeah, 2,000 deals in my career. 80% of that business was listings sold.
Awesome.
I did over 100 transactions, 10 years in a row, did 200 deals a year twice.
Woof. So what made you transition into coaching?
Because I reached a place where there's only so much time in a day. And to me personally, I think doing, 150, 200 transactions as an agent with a relatively small team of administrative staff and maybe like a couple buyer's agents, that's pretty much a cap.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew at the time that the next evolution was kind of to go the route of, like getting a space and perhaps building a team. And I really didn't have a heart for that. I wasn't interested in managing like salespeople at that kind of stage of my life. So the next logical thing to do would be to monetize the skill. And that truly, it grew organically, where people would reach out to me and be like, hey, could you like help me with this sort of thing? And I've never advertised or, kind of intentionally and purposefully sought out to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody actually, they recorded me role playing without telling me. And then they actually blasted it out to a bunch of people. So people would come up to me at some of these learning events and be like, hey, I listen to you all the time. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like, oh yeah, like I listened to this role play. So, that kind of helped to get things going. At first I was like, hey, this isn't cool. But then I'm like, oh, it's kind of cool because like people know that I have this particular skill set. And that's how it organically took place.
Mm-hmm. Well, you do a very good job at it, because I've been watching some of your YouTube videos and I stumbled on you. I'm an agent as well. I was like, okay, he's got like a no BS approach. I like what he has to say. And I thought you would be a great asset for coming into 2024 and maybe helping agents, because I feel like, and you can let me know what you feel like, that 2024 might be a little bit difficult, lower inventory, less transactions coming into it, and what that means for agents in 2024. How are they going to hang on?
I liked your term a little bit different. Like so, we went from 6 million transactions in 2022 to 3.9 million in 2023. That is a drastic drop in volume, right? 36%. So despite people posting like, hashtag blessed and like all this other stuff, the truth is that a lot of people felt that, right?
Yeah.
And are still continuing to feel it. And what I've shared with people is like, if I'm utilizing strategies and tactics that I used when money was 3% and I'm expecting the same outcome, that is delusional.
Yes.
That is like a weight loss program. Like you will lose weight doing that because you won't make any money.
Yeah.
So, when times get tough, only the skilled get paid.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So skill set.
the skills that are required to actually, like, there's no skill required. There's no negotiating skill when there's 15 offers on the table and you're choosing the best one, whoever's removing the most contingencies and giving the most money. That's not a skill.
Mm-mm.
It's not skilled when like sellers all get what they want. When you sit down with somebody and you're like, hey, I think that's a little like out of the ballpark, and they get $50,000 above that. There's no skill involved in that.
No.
Right? There's no skill when somebody calls you up and says, hey, I just want a new like backyard for my dog Fluffy, and they get it. That's not skilled. So, if you drink too much, you get a hangover. That's how that works. Well, we've gotten drunk on cheap money and kind of an easy, way to make 6 figures. And truthfully, like that time has passed. And I, like you, believe that with a super high degree of probability, 2024 will be more of the same. Despite everything you see on, oh, now's a great time to buy and interest rates are coming down. Like, okay, well, the last time we had such a big drop in
Mhm.
volume, it took 16 years to get back to the previous level of volume.
Yeah.
So I just need to get that out of my head. The second
Mhm.
thing I need to recognize is that as an agent, I really only get paid to do 4 things. And it's an acronym, PLAN: prospect, lead, follow up, go on appointments, negotiate deals. That's what you get paid to do. Now, everything else is administrative work. Truthfully, like, you get
Mhm.
paid as a salesperson to be in the presence of prospects. So I need to have that mind frame and mindset. And, people would always give me strokes and accolades, and they'd be like, "Oh man, I can't believe, like, you haven't missed a day in prospecting in like 12 years." And I'm like, "Well, let me ask you a question. Imagine, like, the person that cuts your grass came up to you and they were like, 'Hey, you know what, Noel? I'm kind of a big deal.'" And they were like, and you're like, "Well, what do you mean?" And they're like, "Well, every day I go to work, I cut grass."
I love that
You
you're saying this because you're nailing it on the head about so many agents, and it does blow my mind at what you just said about being cute. Cute's not enough. Like in
know,
any trade that we're looking at, I feel like if you're paying a gym trainer, I don't want like the cute bubbly personality. I want somebody that's gonna put my butt to work and give me results. And then, like you said, showing up, posting on social media. Oh, hey, I went to work today. I'm calling people. And yes, I love everything you're saying. So please continue.
well, and here's the fundamental reality. I was in a group of agents recently. I'm like, "Hey guys, I just need to understand something. The average agent in the United States makes $72,000 a year. A manager in California at Taco Bell makes 70. Like, those are the facts.
This
So
higher
like,
number than I thought it would be for
so
the average.
I know if you go into any office in the United States, out of 200 agents, like 10 of them are doing something. The rest aren't. So
Mhm.
what I'm aware of is, like, I need to be clear of what my competitive advantage is. Like, what this job is not, it's like easy, but or it's not, it's simple, but it's not to be confused with easy.
Mhm.
So it requires me to do certain things on a regular basis. If I find myself in the role of rainmaker, right? In order for me to really perform high in whatever role that I'm playing, I need to understand what's required. What is required to sell real estate in high volume is for you to wake up at a certain time every day before the sun gets up. Now, I know that when I say that to people, I did a post recently, there's like, 152,000 views. Half of them are like, "No, you don't." And the other half are like, "Yes, you do." One guy was like, "I just want average outcomes." I'm like, "So keep doing what you're doing then."
Yeah.
Like, you have to wake up early. Number 2, you have to do something physical with your body every day. Number 3, I have to role play and practice. It's interesting because in our society, with people that perform at high levels, we require that they simulate the activity before they can do the real thing. So doctors simulate on cadavers. We don't let them touch alive people. We let them touch dead people first. Pilots do not get into planes with real people. They have to get in a device actually called a simulator
Mhm.
to pretend to do the real thing before we will trust them with real people, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Military, they simulate doing the activities all the time, right? Well, simulation for salespeople is role playing practice. How can you possibly get good at something you don't do all the time? You go on one listing appointment a year. How are you going to be good at that? You're not. So role playing practice is required. Prospecting daily is required. Learning how to present. Winging
Mhm.
it is not like a strategy. These conversations oftentimes are worth 10, 15, 20, $30,000. And most agents' strategy is to walk in and wing it. That's
Mm.
immature. That's not
Yeah.
like that's not like business minded, right? So I need to be practicing that on a regular basis. I need to learn how to handle objections. They're
Yeah.
all, and you know what's crazy? The objections never change. Like, the objections are all the same. Your commission's too high, the listing agreement's too long. The challenge is most people don't learn the answers.
Mhm.
And that is why most agents across the country are buyer heavy.
Yeah.
60, 70, 80% of their deals come from the buy side and less come from the listing side. Is because listing property, and again, for all you guys who are listening, I know you might get a little mad. Listing property is a higher skilled activity. Period. End of story.
Absolutely. Agree. And then the lawsuit continues on the way that it kind of is, it's more important now to be a listing agent than ever.
Yeah. And what I share with people is like, look, I stay ready so I don't have to get ready.
Yeah.
So in other words, like, you know, it's always been important. They say like, hey, if you can't list, you can't last. You know, that's an old saying in real estate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, with the law, like the commission lawsuit and everything, they're saying, I think with a high degree of probability, not like in 2 years, but probably 4, because there'll be like appeals and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Buyers agents will have to negotiate a portion, if not all their fee. It's not
Yeah.
something they've ever had to do before. And they have
No,
to
it's
demonstrate some sort of value other than like, I hold your hand and I'm nice. And like, I'll open a door for you. You know what I mean? They have to demonstrate some other sort of value. And, you know, as such, leaders anticipate and everybody else reacts. So I should be anticipating now that I should be making decisions today based on that. And for me
not.
personally, what I'm suggesting to all of my one-on-one coaching clients, 12 of which make over $1 million a year, all the people in our organization, you know, which is 236 and growing, you need to become a listing machine. You need to learn how to list property in high volume. And that requires you to master 5 conversations. One is setting appointments with strangers, not people that know you, like you, and love you. There's no skill in that.
Okay.
Strangers who do not know you. Number 2 is how to pre-qualify those conversations. So in 2022, if somebody said they want to sell their home, you could just you'd be like, great, I'll see you at 5.
Mm-hmm.
And show up and they're like, I want this. And you're like, awesome. And they're like, yeah, I think that's too high, but okay. And they scribble on a sheet of paper and it happens. There's no skill in that. So
Yeah.
I need to learn how to pre-qualify, to learn the who, what, where, when, why, and how, and make them receptive to my request before I even see them. So using as a mechanism to close, like assumptively
Mhm.
close, right? Then I need to learn how to present, you know, and follow a specific track that leads to an actual destination. The next set of skills I need to learn is how to handle objections, because they will object. You know, to
Mhm.
imagine that they won't is immature. To imagine that you're so cool and cute and your personality so nice, they're not going to ask you to cut your commission is ridiculous, right?
It's a few things. That's one
Yeah.
word to describe it.
And then the last thing I have to learn how to do is close. Because for
Mhm.
all of you guys listening, okay, how many of you guys have been on an appointment? You thought you had it in a bag. You're, oh yeah, we were chummy. We go to the same school. Our kids go to the same school together. And then you get the call and they're like, hey, Noel, you know, Aaron came over and we ended up listening with him. Right. So learning how to close and ask, because we handle we present with emotion, but we handle objections with logic.
Mhm.
Right. And closing is a different skill set of actually asking for the business, you know? So, you know, let me just ask you, you strike me to be someone who's super straightforward and to the point. Based on our time spent together, based on what you've seen online, based on, you know, the reviews and things of that nature, do you feel comfortable and confident with me that I can help you sell this home and that I would look out for your best interest? And they're
I
like, well,
love it.
yeah. And you're like, great. Well, you know what the great news is? What's that? I know I can. Let's do this. You're here. I'm here. Let's take care of the appropriate paperwork. So those are the skills that are required. So first you ask me like, okay, 2024, what do I need to do? I need to reframe my thinking. If I'm still thinking 2023, if I'm thinking 2022, no. And if I'm
Yeah.
imagining that it's going to be like infinitely better and that's my only strategy, there's a high degree of probability you'll be doing something else in a short period of time, because the last time we had 3.9 million transactions was like around 2009. We had 990,000 agents. In the beginning of 2023, we had 1.6 million in the same transaction volume. So
Hmm.
that's like,
A
you
lot
either
of
need to,
competition. You better be ready.
well, and truthfully, it's really not that much. You know, I had a mentor tell me one time, like, it's actually not that difficult to become wealthy. And I said, why? He's like, because there's very few people that are trying.
Oh, you're right. You're 100% right. In my area alone, there's just under 9,000 agents. Um, and they just put all of our numbers, circle of excellence, how much money you did, and what number you are in the area. And I look and I'm like, oh, well, that's a nice number, but what is everyone else doing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly right. So, you know, with the proper mindset, I think that 2024 is an opportunity to really gobble up market share,
Mhm.
because there will be a lot of agents that leave. And it is going to require me to get more dialed in.
Yes.
For sure.
So you're role playing every day. How are we keeping a healthy mindset though? Other than the gym and doing something physical in the morning, how are we keeping going during the day?
Yeah. So, it's interesting when I hear the word like mindset, and I understand the question that you're asking me.
Mhm.
I'm aware that oftentimes it brings people to like their mind, like their head.
Mhm.
And I believe like it's more a state, like a state of being.
Mhm.
And then it's like, well, how do you cultivate state? I also think that 2024 is going to be very interesting from a social perspective. It'll create a lot of uncertainty. And when people feel uncertain, they don't feel safe. And when they don't feel safe, they start to retreat. So the question is how do I cultivate state of being, and how do
Mhm.
I cultivate certainty? So first I'll give you the formula for state, and then I'll give you the formula for certainty. So the formula for state of being is one, do something physical with your body regularly, because fear is a visceral experience, but so is courage. I have to like train courage into my body, right? Two is
Yes.
you can miss like a meal, but don't ever miss a day of reading. We live
Yep.
in a time where all of the information that has ever been like accumulated in human history is available to us, and for the most part, it's free or very inexpensive,
Yes.
right? So, you know, consuming with the intention to create and being mindful of about what I'm putting in front of me on a regular basis. Number three is to surround yourself with people that have higher standards than you. So I remember being at a mastermind dinner, and I was probably, I don't know, I'm 43 now. I was probably like 32 or 31 or something. And I was the smallest kind of fry in this mastermind group in terms of GCI. I was probably doing like 450 a year in GCI. Everybody else is doing over a million. And this guy who is a mentor to me, and I've talked to him every week for the last 17 years, he was doing like 200 deals. And he looked at me in front of six people and he's like, "How much money are you going to make this year?" And I was like, "I don't know, like 400, 450." Now, in most circles, you tell them that and they're like, "Wow, that's amazing." You know what he actually said to me, Noah?
That's all?
No, he's like, "Why do you settle for that?" I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "You think I work harder than you?" I'm like, "Not really." He's like, "You should be making $1 million a year. I feel like I need to buy you dinner." And then he did. He bought me dinner in front of six people. Now,
Oh.
two things were actually happening there. One is he was actually helping me feel more comfortable because it was
Mhm.
incredibly uncomfortable for me. The dinner bill was like 6 grand. It's like I'd never experienced anything like that. The second thing he was doing though is he was challenging my standards. So the question is like, who do you have in your life right now that challenges your standards? That says like,
Very.
hey, Noel, look, in your circle, I know you're the fastest, the quickest, the strongest. At the same time, what I'm seeing from you is not what you're actually capable of.
Yeah.
Right. So surrounding yourself with people that have higher standards. And then the last one is give way more than you expect to receive in return. Right. Because you want to come from this place of like overly, like, I want to exchange with people in ways that are overly abundant. I want them to truly feel like they're stealing from me. Like, man, I get so much value from that guy. Like whatever I'm giving him is insignificant compared to what I'm receiving in return. And that will help you to be in a very good state. Right.
Mhm.
Now, the way that you create certainty is by dominating what I call the controllables. So there's three, it's like a trichotomy of control, right? Tri meaning three. There's things that I have some control over, but not complete. There are things that I have no control over whatsoever, which are most things.
Mhm.
And then there's things that I have complete control over, which are very few and far between. Well, the way that you create certainty for yourself is those things that you have complete control over, you dominate them. So examples of that would be like, I can control what time I wake up. I can
Mhm.
control what I'm putting into my head. I can control what I'm putting into my body. I can control if I'm doing physical like exercise. I can control if I role play. I can control what time I get on the phone. I cannot control interest rates. I cannot control the election. I cannot control all these things that are external to me. And by doing that, when you dominate the controllables, you create certainty for yourself. And when you feel certain, that's a feeling of grounded, centered, calm, and clear. versus uncertain, which is doubtful, fearful, worry, kind of retreating, like, there's not enough.
Mhm. Mhm. Which is not a good way to think at all. I have a child and, we talk about exactly some of the things that you just said about being in the right group and how you were saying, "Oh, people can look at you and be like, 'Oh, you're the best at what you do in this group,' whatever it might be." And I always tell her, "That's the wrong group you're in. You don't wanna be in that group. You want to be challenged by people daily. You wanna learn. You wanna be pushed." I could listen to you talk all day long. Honestly, you're fabulous at what you do. So your clients are very lucky to have you. When's your next event? When do you have something coming up that people can come in and see you?
Yeah, so we're actually having an event this week. It's short notice, but on the 20th in Fort Lauderdale, we have about 142 people that are flying in from around the country. And then we have another 200 here locally that are registered. I'll be doing a talk. My partner Jose will be doing a talk, and a couple other people. It should be awesome. But I actually do live events here locally in South Florida every month, and we do webinars also every month. So if people just
Okay.
kind of tune in to kind of social profiles at Aaron Novello, they can see when stuff is available. And then on YouTube, the Aaron Novello podcast, I really do my best to just like pump out lots of content that would be helpful and useful, and it's free. I know our industry oftentimes has gatekeepers for good information, and it's I believe in coaching and I believe in paying for it. At the same time, it goes back to like wanting to add like tremendous amounts of value. So that's a good place to get good information.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on today.
Yeah, my pleasure. I appreciated your time.